What's up guys, this is Cody here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Boosted Board. Now what Boosted Board is a remote controlled electric longboard, and this thing goes pretty fast. Now this is what they call a last mile vehicle, which basically means this board is what you'd use to either, make a quick trip around town, or if you're in school it could get you around on campus, or maybe if you take public transit for work and it drops you off a couple of blocks or even miles from your destination, this thing's going to get you there a whole lot faster than walking, plus it's insanely fun. But before we take a look at the board itself, let's check out this remote. Now it's pretty self-explanatory here. There's just a single multi-purpose button right down here at the very bottom. Right above that we have a light indicator for the battery power of the remote. Then we have a light to show that it's connected to the board, and then above that just a battery level for the board itself. You hold down this button for 2 seconds and it turns on. Now you'll also notice that we have a trigger right here. Now you're going to have to depress the trigger in order to activate the gear on top. So you pull back the trigger and then you move the gear up, and that's going to accelerate. Pulling back is either going to brake or go in reverse if you're already stopped. Then right down here at the bottom we have a mini USB for charging, and then you have just a little space for a lanyard so you can wrap it around your wrist so you don't drop it. But let's go ahead and see what else we have here. You can see a quick start guide if you want to check that out. You also have some business cards just in case somebody asks you about your board as you're riding it around. You can hand them one of these. You also can see that we have just the mini USB cable for charging our remote, as well as some Boosted Board stickers, and of course the charger itself for the board, as well as the power cable to go along with it. Of course, we don't want to forget about our lanyard. This is what's going to go on our remote and then around our wrist. But moving on to the board, there's quite a bit to talk about here. To start off with, this is the top of the line 2000 watt board. So this has a top speed of 22 miles per hour, a range of 7 miles while in eco mode, and allows you to fly up 25% grade hills. Now it weighs 15 pounds and is made up of some high quality parts. So you can see here that we have a 38-inch loaded Vanguard deck, and it's extremely flexible and comfortable to ride. You also notice that we have 10-inch genuine caliber trucks, and for wheels we have the Orangutan and Heat 75mm wheels, which have some really great traction. You also notice here on the top of the deck that we have 2 grades of grip tape, and this is specific only to the 2000 watt board. So up front you have a bit of a finer grip tape than on the back, just so you can get a bit more traction on the back when you're carving pretty hard. So if we flip the board over, you can see that we have the battery here up at the front. Now if we pull this tab, it's going to expose the power button and the charging port for the battery. Now on the back we have the drivetrain and the modded wheels. So you can see the 2 brushless motors here, and this is where all that power is coming from to get you up to that 22 miles per hour. Now you do have to be pretty careful once you first start out on this board. I mean, if you jump on the board, throw it into pro mode, and literally full throttle this thing, it's going to fly out from under you and you're going to fall flat on your back. So you definitely want to ease into something like this. And it took me about 10 minutes or so before I was actually, in pro mode, going full throttle, and I was really comfortable with the board. It could take you longer, could take you less time. You just kind of got to feel it out for yourself. And of course, really quickly, I do want to show you the companion app for Boosted Board. So once you download this, you can see that you're going to connect to your board if it's turned on or if it's charging here, and you'll see that you get the battery percentage right there, and you'll also see the miles traveled on the board, as well as the trip meter right here that you can reset. There's a little refresh button right there, and if you're not connected for whatever reason, you can always just tap on this button and it should automatically connect to it. You'll also see if you are connected, you can disconnect from it if you want to do that. Right down here you have a ride mode as well, so you just tap on this. This is going to give you your options for what ride mode you want to be in: beginner, eco, expert, or pro. And then you also can just change up the name of your board. Now a couple of things to keep in mind is you can actually change your ride mode with the multi-purpose button on your remote control, just a series of button presses. And also you can only have either your phone or your remote connected to the board at the same time. You can't have both. So for instance, if I try to connect my remote right now while my app is open, I'm not gonna be able to connect to it, as well as if your remote is on and it's connected to the board, you're not going to be able to open up the application. It's not going to connect. Now, of course, we want to talk about battery, because when we're talking about battery, we're talking about range. So for instance, when I took this board out for the very first time and I threw it into pro mode and I went full throttle the entire time, you know, just flying up hills, not conserving battery whatsoever, and I eked out about 4.5 miles. Then I took it home, I charged it up, and this thing charges up insanely fast. I was really surprised of how fast this thing charged. It took literally right under an hour to charge from 0% to 100%. But I was back out there, and this time I was still in pro mode, but at the same time I was a little bit more conservative of how I actually used it. I didn't go full throttle the entire time, and I used the regenerative braking as well. So what that is basically as you're going down a hill or you're going really fast, once you start braking, that braking is actually going to generate the battery, thus giving you more battery power and further range.
Sorry. You got brakes on that thing? Yeah, I got a remote.
So as I was a little bit more cautious with the battery power and I was using the regenerative braking, I actually got about 7 miles in pro mode. I was in pro mode about 85% of the time. Then I was in eco for just a little bit more, just kind of, you know, cruising around looking for a spot to shoot. Now, another thing about battery is you don't want to overcharge this thing. Now, it's not going to be any type of issue while it's plugged into the wall, but once you take this thing out and you're riding it around, if you have 100% battery and you're going downhill and you start to brake, then that's going to overcharge the battery, thus shutting down the entire board. So you don't really want to go down a steep hill that you don't think you can manage by yourself without braking, just in case something like this happens. And you also want to keep this thing out of water, because this thing is not waterproof, it's not water resistant. So if you go riding this thing through puddles and it's splashing up into the motors or in the battery, you could have some issues and it could mess up your very expensive piece of equipment. So overall, this thing is a ton of fun and I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you fall into one of those 3 categories that I mentioned previously. I mean, this thing can save you a lot of time and it's fun. I mean, I haven't actually used it for transportation really. I've just been using it for riding around and I've had a ton of fun with it. Now, if you are thinking about purchasing one of these, I would highly recommend not to think of it as a toy, but to think of it as a vehicle, because it's a really expensive toy, but it's a pretty cheap vehicle, especially if you're saving money on taxis or Ubers, and not to mention saving time rather than walking, but riding this thing, and it's fun. So there's 3 different boards you can choose from. The entry level starts at $9.99, and really the only difference between the 3 boards is the top speed. That's really the main feature that you're paying for. So the entry level board tops out at 18 miles per hour. The next board is 20 miles per hour, and then the 2,000 watt battery right back here is actually going to get you up to 22 miles per hour. So if you don't really need that extra 4 miles per hour, you can go with that cheaper board. And I've actually tried the cheaper board as well, and I had a lot of fun with it. I just wanted to check out the top of the line because I know you guys would be more interested in seeing that. But I can say right now that the 18 miles per hour on the entry level board was plenty for me. The 22 is obviously a little bit more fun, but again, it's going to come at a premium. And if you want to check out current pricing for these boards, I'll be sure to put a link in the description below for you guys to just click on, and you can check that out for yourself. So hopefully that's enough information for you guys to make an informed decision of whether or not you want to check one of these out for yourself. And hopefully you guys are enjoying these new tech review videos that I've been doing, you know, like the hoverboard, the gaming PC build video, this video. So of course, let me know what you guys think about these types of videos in the comments below. Do you guys want to see more videos like this? Because I'd really like to make them, but I want to make sure you guys are enjoying watching them as well. But also, in addition to that, let me know what you guys think about the boosted board back here and whether or not this is something that you would want to check out for yourself. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps me out. Of course, if you want to see more videos just like this, then make sure you subscribe. All right, guys, until next time, peace.